Imagine a world where music is more than just sound. It's a spiritual experience, a bridge between the human and the divine. For centuries, Indian classical music has done just that, weaving intricate melodies that transcend time, culture, and geography. From the grandeur of the Mughal courts to the roaring counterculture of the 1960s, this tradition has shaped the very fabric of musical history. But how did it evolve, and how did one man bring it to a global stage? Around the 12th century, Indian classical music began to diverge into two distinct traditions: Carnatic music in the south and Hindustani music in the north. This separation was influenced by various factors, including regional, cultural, and religious differences. The northern regions, exposed to Persian and Mughal influences, saw their music evolve into the Hindustani style, characterized by a blend of indigenous and external elements. In contrast, the southern regions retained a more traditional Carnatic style, preserving ancient Hindu musical traditions. The Mughal Empire, which lasted from around 1526 to 1857, was renowned for its rich cultural heritage, particularly in music, which was epitomized by Tansen, a figure often likened to Johann Sebastian Bach in the West. His contributions were monumental. He played a crucial role in the evolution of Drupad, composed new ragas that remain central to Hindustani classical music, and authored influential musical treatises. He also contributed to the development of instruments like the rabab and the rudra veena, enriching the textures of Indian classical performances. Tansen's true genius lay in his ability to synthesize musical traditions, blending indigenous forms with Persian and Central Asian influences. This synthesis laid the foundation for what we now recognize as Hindustani classical music. His disciples carried forward his innovations, expanding the repertoire and refining techniques. But as India modernized, so did its music, evolving beyond the confines of royal courts and temple rituals. Fast forward to the 20th century, and another musical giant would emerge, not in the palaces of emperors, but on the world stage. Ravi Shankar was born in 1920 in Varanasi, one of India's most sacred cities. His early years were spent not with music, but with dance. As a teenager, he toured Europe and America with his brother Uday, a renowned dancer who introduced Indian performing arts to the West. But it was in these travels that Ravi first encountered the power of music beyond India's borders. Before becoming a master of the sitar, Ravi Shankar lived a life of extravagance in the heart of Europe. As a teenager, he joined his elder brother Uday in Paris, where he was immersed in the glamour of the Western artistic elites. Uday, a celebrated dancer, had introduced Indian performing arts to the West, and young Ravi was swept into a world of luxury, fine dining, stylish clothes, and the vibrant social circles of 1930s Europe. He traveled across the continent, performing in grand theaters and rubbing shoulders with cultural icons, living a life far removed from the discipline of Indian classical music. But beneath the glittering surface, Ravi felt a growing sense of emptiness. The indulgences of Parisian life left him unfulfilled, and a deeper calling began to stir within him. His encounters with Indian musicians during these tours awakened a realization. He was witnessing something profound, something that demanded more than fleeting admiration. It requires surrender and devotion. This inner conflict reached a turning point when he met Ustad Khan, a formidable yet revered guru of Hindustani classical music. In 1938, at the age of 18, Ravi made a radical decision to become a disciple of the great master. Moving to the small town of Maihar, he embraced a life of rigorous discipline, shedding the comforts of his former existence. Under Khan's tutelage, Shankar underwent an intense and often grueling apprenticeship. He woke before dawn, practiced for hours each day, and immersed himself completely in the complexities of the raga system. His training was not just about the technical mastery, but also about embodying the spiritual essence of Indian music. Khan was known for his strictness, pushing Shankar to his limits. Through years of unwavering dedication, Ravi Shankar transformed from a carefree performer into a true virtuoso. His journey from the decadence of Paris to the asceticism of Maihar was more than just a shift in environment. It was a complete metamorphosis of self. By surrendering to the rigorous demands of Indian classical music, he unlocked his true artistic potential, setting the stage for his future as the world's foremost ambassador of the sitar. The 1960s marked a turning point, not just for Ravi Shankar, but for music itself. In 1965, when the Beatles were at the peak of their fame, George Harrison encountered the sitar for the first time, sparking a curiosity that would soon turn into a lifelong passion. Inspired by the instrument's hypnotic resonance, Harrison sought out Ravi Shankar, eager to learn from the master himself. What began as a casual interest quickly deepened into a serious apprenticeship. Shankar, initially skeptical of Western musicians dabbling in Indian music, was impressed by Harrison's sincerity and dedication. Under Shankar's guidance, Harrison studied the fundamentals of Hindustani classical music, learning about ragas, microtonality, and the spiritual depth of the tradition. Around the same time, jazz saxophonist John Coltrane was undergoing his own musical and spiritual transformation. Deeply influenced by Shankar's recordings, Coltrane found a striking parallel between Indian classical music and the modal jazz he was pioneering. The expansive, meditative quality of ragas resonated with his search for transcendence through music. Although they never formally studied together, Coltrane and Shankar met in 1965, exchanging ideas about music's deeper purpose. Shankar's approach to improvisation, his use of microtonal nuances, and his emphasis on music as a spiritual journey left a lasting impression on Coltrane. This influence is evident in Coltrane's later works, particularly in albums like A Love Supreme and Om, where he explored extended modal improvisations and a more meditative, trance-like aesthetic. Coltrane even named his son Ravi in honor of Shankar, a testament of the deep respect he held for the sitar maestro. At the heart of Hindustani classical music lies the raga, a melodic framework that serves as both a structure and a canvas for improvisation. Unlike Western scales, which are fixed and symmetrical, a raga is more than just a sequence of notes. It is an evolving musical entity designed to evoke specific emotions, times of day, or even seasons. The word raga itself means that which colors the mind, highlighting its deep psychological and emotional impact. Each raga consists of a specific set of notes known as swaras, but what distinguishes it is the way these notes are approached. It follows distinct ascending and descending patterns. These elements guide a musician's improvisation, ensuring that even with the vast freedom of Hindustani music, each raga maintains its unique identity. Beyond pitch selection, Indian classical music embraces a rich world of microtonality. Unlike Western music, which is based on 12 equal tempered semitones, Hindustani music divides the octave into 22 microtones, or shrutis. These subtle pitch variations allow for an extraordinary level of nuance, enabling musicians to glide between notes, introduce delicate inflections, and express emotions with precision.
Sa ni ni da da pa ma ma ga ga re re sa. Sa ni ni da 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 pa ma 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 ga 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 re re.
The result is a sound that feels fluid and organic, rather than constrained by rigid tonal boundaries. Microtonality also plays a crucial role in the emotional depth of a performance. The way a note is approached, whether it bends, oscillates, or lingers, can entirely transform the mood of a raga. Some ragas use flattened or sharpened versions of notes to create tension and resolution, while others emphasize sustained notes to invoke contemplation or longing. This intricate balance between structure and improvisation makes every rendition of a raga a unique experience, shaped by the musician's interpretation, the setting, and the audience. Indian classical music employs a unique notation system that differs significantly from Western staff notation. Rather than precisely dictating pitch and rhythm, Indian notation serves just as a guide, ensuring the music retains its expressive and improvisational essence. The most widely used notation system in Hindustani classical music is the Vadkhanda system. Developed by Vishnu Narayan Vadkhanda in the early 20th century, it employs sargam, a system of syllables analogous to solfège in Western music. Unlike Western notation, which is based on a fixed pitch system, sargam notation is relative, meaning the tonic can shift depending on the musician's range and preference.
I would say Indian classical music is totally based on vocal music, whether it be a melodic instrument, whether it be the voice, or whether it be the tabla, a percussion instrument. So,
Rhythm or tala is indicated separately using symbols and cyclical structures rather than fixed bar lines.
So can you show me a tal?
Yes, but before that, I just want to show you what makes the tal, the syllables of tabla. If I say na, if I say tun, if I say te, ke, then both hand dha, dhati dha, dhati dha gena dha, gena dhati dha gena dha, dhati dha gena dha, gena dha. So it's kind of the way you to talk, you know.
The story of Hindustani classical music is not one of mere preservation, but of reinvention. Tansen, the luminary of Akbar's court, transformed Indian music by systematizing and innovating its forms, merging diverse traditions into a singular, refined art. Centuries later, Ravi Shankar would take this same spirit of synthesis and extend it beyond India, introducing to the world the meditative intricacies of the raga. Though separated by time, both men shared a common vision, one that saw music not as a static relic, but as a living, evolving entity. Tansen's court performances resonated through the halls of the Mughal Empire, just as Shankar's sitar would one day echo across concert halls in New York, London, Paris, and beyond. Each, in his own era, expanded the scope of Hindustani music, proving that its essence was not bound by geography or culture, but by the universality of human expression. In their hands, music was more than sound. It was a bridge between worlds, between past and future, between tradition and transformation. And through them, Hindustani music did not just endure, it thrived